I said, I'm Nick Anisich. I'm the Farm to School Program Manager here at CDFA in the Office of Farm to Fork. This is an informational webinar for our 2022 California Farm to School Incubator Grant Program. We have been doing weekly webinars throughout the duration of the grant, and we have just under a month left. So there's probably not that many info sessions left. So the goal of these sessions is for you to be able to go into the application, start filling it out, and then you get stuck and you're like, oh no, I don't know what that means. So you can email us, or we have these sessions here to just talk it through together. So thank you all for joining, and we hope that this is a good collaborative experience for you. Okay, next slide, please. CDFA has a culture of support and collaboration for all of our grant programs. And I'm telling you this today in order to try to loosen you up to actually ask your real questions and to not feel weird sending us questions. We are real human beings working for the government. Ask us questions, we can answer, we feel things, it's all there together. So as we're developing the grant program, we're asking ourselves, how can we simplify this process? How can we help people? How can we help applicants? How can we celebrate and validate all of the work that's being done across the state while still asking you to do more? Because that's what a grant program is. Hey, you're doing great. What if you also did this? And then lastly, how can we create lasting impact? So when we are in design mode, when we're asking people and going through public comment period, we're always trying to reflect on those guiding questions. And then we have guiding practices to help us make sure that we are embodying this collaborative and supportive culture. So we offer support and technical assistance throughout the process through our Q&A sessions like you're on today, as well as on email Q&A. We do office hours and peer-to-peer learning for grantees and in the California Farm to School Network. And we also do cross-pollinating across programs throughout the state. So just like we saw in the chat today, there's people on here from everywhere. We have a lot of Central Coast, I'm not gonna lie. We're Ventura, San Luis Obispo heavy, but we're excited for everyone to be here and to just see that there's people from all across the state doing this work. The problem you have might feel really heavy and difficult, but we probably know someone who's gone through a similar situation who might be able to save you some time on problem solving. So we're really excited and grateful to be able to offer all of these, additional opportunities in addition to the grant. All right, next slide, please. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so the purpose and priorities, this is for all 4 grant tracks. And we're gonna get into each of the grant tracks, but these priorities go across all of them. So no matter which application you're completing or which applications, know that these are the priorities. CDFA's California Farm to School Incubator Grant Program will award competitive grants to support projects that cultivate equity, nurture students, build climate resilience, and create scalable and sustainable change. So each project should do those things. Reflect, does my project do those things? This is the priority. Okay, and then here's the specifics. Funding priorities include engaging students from underserved communities, serving schools located among priority populations, including small to mid-sized California food producers, including veteran California food producers, socially disadvantaged California food producers, and/or limited resource farm households in California, and include California food producers who utilize climate smart ag practices or climate smart ag production systems like certified organic or transitioning to certified organic, or other regenerative strategies that increase resilience to climate change, improve the health of communities and soil, protect water and air quality, increase biodiversity, and help store carbon in the soil. So across each grant track, we're looking at who are you serving and who are you partnering with and what's your impact on the climate. All right, next slide, please. There are 4 funding tracks. Like I said, track 1 and track 2 are the same from last year. Track 1 is the K-12 Procurement and Education Grant. Track 2 is the Farm to School Partnerships Grant. The new grant tracks for this year are track 3 and track 4, the Farm to Early Care and Education Grant and the Farm to School Producer Grant. 2 common questions we get are, can you apply to multiple tracks? Yes, you can. And can I apply if I have an existing Farm to School grant with CDFA? And yes, you can. Okay, next slide. Here's what to expect in this webinar today. I'm going to give a brief overview of each funding track, then we'll have a program timeline, and then we'll do Q&A. I'm hoping to get through the slides pretty quick so that we can just get to the Q&A. we've done this info slides a lot. Like I said, there are recordings on our website. If you go to the grant website linked there, you can click that link, scroll down to the webinars tab, and then it has recordings of each one. So you can go and skip ahead to the Q&As, or you can get more info, whatever it is. All right, next slide. Okay, track 1 is the K-12 Procurement and Education Grant. It will fund individual public school districts, county offices of education, and directly funded charter schools in California to establish new or expand existing farm-to-school programs. Each application needs to coordinate school nutrition services programs with educational opportunities for students, and those can occur in classrooms, cafeterias, or outdoor learning spaces. And each application needs to include procurement of California grown or produced whole or minimally processed foods for incorporation into school meals, especially foods that are culturally relevant, climate smart, and from small to mid-sized food producers, veteran food producers, socially disadvantaged food producers, and or limited resource farm households in California. So each application needs to include an education component and a procurement component. If you want to, you can employ staff. That's definitely an allowable cost, and we think you should do it probably. We only have so much time. So if you need staff, do it. Okay, track 1 is unique because it includes a funding formula. The other grant tracks do not have a funding formula, but this one does. So it's $10 per student enrolled in the 1920 school year. You can apply for up to $150,000 if your multiplication comes out to less than that. And the maximum award is $1 million in case your formula is over that. The reason why we put the minimum and maximum is because we feel like the minimum is enough to create significant transformation, and the maximum is still a significant award, but you're not taking all the money from the grant. So there you go, that's track 1. Here is the scorecard for track 1. You can see that the highest scoring categories are community need, project description, and healthy, equitable, resilient food system. We hope that you can see our program priorities aligned in the scorecard. The community needs section includes points for engaging students from underserved communities and serving schools located among priority populations. If you're in the application, you know it also includes qualitative features, other qualitative questions, as well as other quantitative questions. So data from your school district, as well as just making the case, telling us what your community is experiencing. The healthy, equitable, resilient food system section, which is 20 points, includes points for including small to mid-sized California food producers and those other prioritized producer groups that we've talked about before. This scorecard you'll see in other tracks as well, with minor variations. So you can see that community need is very important, as well as healthy, equitable, resilient food system. Okay, next slide, please. This is track 2, the Farm to School Partnerships Grant. Track 2 will fund regional and statewide farm to school partnerships in California to establish new or expand existing farm to school initiatives. And in this one, there's options. So you can apply in track 2 to implement farm to school procurement and or education strategies as part of a larger regional or statewide food system development plan. So if you're in a broader, like let's say you're a county level person and you have a San Diego County food system plan, or in Seattle and Washington, they have a City of Seattle food system plan, or a regional plan that's multiple counties working together to end hunger in their community. You can apply in track 2 to implement that plan for your region, to implement the farm to school elements of it. Or in track 2, you can apply to increase collaboration and coordination regionally or statewide between California food producers and school nutrition services departments to increase procurement of California grown or produced whole or minimally processed foods for incorporation into school meals, especially foods from those prioritized producer groups and culturally relevant foods. So this would be like an example of a food hub or somebody who's a go-between between multiple producers and multiple school sites. That would be an option. The other opportunity in track 2 is to provide farm to school procurement and or education technical assistance or capacity building support regionally or statewide to more than one farm to school implementing organization. So this would be like an organization that works with a bunch of schools on, I don't know, like you're a school garden organization that supports a number of districts across the state. You could apply there, something similar to that, just as one example. Track 2 does not have a funding formula. It has award amounts, and it's $100,000 to $500,000. And you just tell us what you need. So, and then you align the budget with it. Okay, next slide. Track 2, does this scorecard look familiar to you? Same thing, right? It has the priority areas: community need, healthy, equitable, resilient food system. It's very important. You'll see the unique elements here is project partners is 2 points. So you're going to outline that information as well. Okay, next slide, please. Track 3 is our Farm to Early Care and Education grant. Track 3 will fund child care centers in California and Farm to ECE support orgs to establish new or expand existing Farm to ECE programs that do all 3 of these things, that coordinate food and garden-based hands-on learning and play opportunities for young children and, if desired, their families. So there's an education component. There's also a procurement component where applications need to procure California grown or produced whole or minimally processed foods for incorporation into meals, snacks, taste tests, and/or food boxes for young children, especially foods that are culturally relevant and come from those prioritized producer groups. And also, they need to offer Farm to ECE technical assistance and/or peer learning spaces for staff, teachers, and families. So every application in Track 3 needs to have an educational element, a procurement element, and that assistance and professional development, technical assistance and professional development element. Professional development element. Didn't know I would be saying that rhyme today. And then if you want to, of course, you can employ Farm to ECE staff. That is allowable. We have been getting some questions on, hey, I'm a K-12 district. Can I also apply for Farm to ECE because I support that space? Yes, you can apply in both tracks. And what we encourage you to do is incorporate parent and family engagement and build connections in the K-12 space. So those are there. The award amounts in this one, again, you tell us how much you need and align your narrative and budget and all the details in the application to it. For the award amounts, between $50,000 and $200,000. So up to you, you tell us. Next slide, please. This scorecard is a variation on a theme here. The program priorities are in alignment, community need, healthy, equitable, resilient food system are all there. Okay, next slide. The final grant track is the Farm to School Producer Grant, and it will fund California food producers to increase production, processing, and/or distribution of whole or minimally processed foods for the school food market. Track 4 will also fund California food producers to provide hands-on educational opportunities for youth that complement their food sales or donations to schools. To be eligible, a producer must show evidence of an established relationship with at least one school nutrition services department. The award amounts are $5,000 to $150,000 in this track. And you can see that this scorecard is different, but again, the program priorities are in alignment with the scorecard. So the first scoring category is 5 points. It's your relationship with the school nutrition services department. What we've seen across the farm to school landscape is once you have your foot in the door with a school district as a producer, that you have a great chance at scaling your projects and programs together. So it provides great value to have an established relationship with a school nutrition services department. You can see that if you can hear in the background, our sprinkler runners have come inside. Okay, that's the first scoring category. The second one is description of food production history and farm to school vision. So how does farm to school fit into your goals and vision and mission as a food producer? Project description is 15 points. And then there's 25 points for a healthy, equitable, resilient food system. So are you engaging students from underserved communities? Are you serving schools located among priority populations? And who are you that's applying? Are you a small to mid-sized food producer, a veteran food producer, socially disadvantaged food producer, and or limited resource farm household in California? And do you utilize climate smart ag production practices or systems? So all of those are in there in the scorecard. One question that we've also been getting in this is, if I'm a school district and I'm applying in track 1 and I'm writing letters of support in the producer track, what's that relationship? Is that going to hurt my track 1 application? How many letters of support could I write for track 4? You're applying in as a school district, you can write these letters of support for whoever you have a relationship with in track 4 as a project partner. So if you have a relationship, you can sign on to their application. It's not going to hurt your other applications because each category is scored on its own. And I see a couple questions in here. We're going to get to those very soon in the chat. I just wanted to circle back on why we've showed the scorecard for each funding track. It's because we're getting a lot of questions and we say, please refer to the scorecard to see how, what's the most desirable element. The scorecard is how you're going to receive an award. So you're thinking, what do I need to make sure I'm communicating in my application? You need to make sure that it's in alignment with the program priorities and the things laid out in the scorecard. The detailed scorecards are available on our website, so you can find them there as you're filling out your application. It's kind of like having the answer key as you're filling out the test. Okay, next slide, please. Here is the timeline for applications. They opened May 9th in our online application portal. If you're having any challenges with the online application portal, there's resources on our website. You can also email us. So if it's just hard to navigate WiseHive, just email us and ask questions. Amy on our team, shout out Amy, also recorded a video of how to use it. So it's really helpful. Throughout the application period, we're doing weekly webinars. You're on one now. We have another one next week. July 6th at 5 p.m. applications are due. Then we're going to review them. There's an internal process and then an external process that they will be under review. In September, we hope to notify all of the applicants. Then we'll be establishing grant agreements, and projects can start on December 1st and they have to end on November 30th. Okay, next slide. Here's the type of help that we can provide and the type of help we can't provide in the Q&A, whether it's in email or on this call. We can answer informational questions about the grant via email and webinars, so that's happening now. We can introduce partners in school support organizations, producers in school support orgs or schools. That's part of our farm to school network. So if you're like, hey, I'm a farmer in this region, are there any schools near me that we could connect you to? Yes, we can make those email introductions if we know them. And we can provide technical support for the online application in WiseHive. That's all easy. Here's what we can't do. We can't provide specific feedback on grant project ideas. So we can't say like, hey, you should definitely put that on the school salad bar and write that in your application. We can't do that type of thing for you. And we can't assist with the grant writing either. So we can't fill out sections for you. That's not allowable for us. We don't want to give a competitive advantage to any one entity. Okay, next slide. All right, so now we're going into Q&A. I see we have like 3 questions in here in the chat, so I'm going to answer those 3 first. And then I'm going to go to hands up. So in order to ask a question, if you want to do it verbally, you can just go to the reactions button and then click raise hand. You could do that. You can also put your question in the chat if you would prefer to do that. Or if you would prefer no thank you to both of those options, you can just email your questions to us at cafarmtoschool@cdfa.ca.gov. And you can see in the chat that Rachel on our Farm to School team has put a link to our grant website that has a number of resources, as well as our email address. So if you want to do it that way, you can. Okay, I'm going to go through the questions in the chat now. And then, like I said, if you want to ask one, you can raise your hand or add it to the chat. Okay, so the first question on here is from Leslie. Hi, Leslie. These tracks are designed as 2-year award totals. Yes, so we saw that the final date to spend the funds, what was it? Can we go back one slide? November 30th.
2024.
2024. So there you go. So all the projects need to end by November 30th, 2024. So that's how long they are designed as. You can spend the money more quickly than that if you would prefer, or you could drag it out till the very end. That's fine with us, either way. All right, Lupe submitted the next question. Would a farm who is just trying this year to be involved with our school district still qualify for the grant? So if you have a letter of intent from a school district who says we are committed to working with this producer, then you would be eligible in the in track 4 as a producer. that would count, yes. Also, you see in the scorecard that you do get points for having an established relationship. So your level of relationship will get scored and your history of collaboration will get scored as part of that. If you need support in developing that relationship with a school district, please let us know. Send us an email. Michael on our team, who's handling the slides today, is our producer engagement, specialist, and Michael can jump on and help coordinate things with you. That's, you don't have to apply to get help from our office. You just ask for that one. It's great. You don't have to get a grant. You don't have to fill out an application. All you have to do is send an email. So send us a note and we can help if you need that. But yes, you would be eligible. Okay, and then Heather Reed. Hi, Heather. So she has a question on opportunity zone eligibility. When typing in a school address that is known to be a priority, it does not show up. How can we determine this easily when working with 5 school districts with many schools? Also, question, is food provided at trainings and meetings an allowable cost for track 2? Amy, I'm going to hand this one to you. And are we ready to answer that now on the call, or is it something that we need to get back to Heather on over email and think about more?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. We can definitely answer the opportunity zone one, and the allowable cost one, I think we'll chat about that one and get back to you, Heather, over email, and we'll post that response in our Q&A on the website for everyone else too. But yeah, for the opportunity zone question, that's a really good one. So when using that tool, and if you type in a school address and it is not blue when it like zooms into the school location, then that means it's not located in an opportunity zone. And if none of the schools in the district that you're serving are located in an opportunity zone, then you would have to answer no to that question in the application. But if you type in the address of a school and you see that surrounding areas around the school are blue, which means surrounding areas are an opportunity zone, you would still have to answer no to the opportunity zone question because the school itself isn't in an opportunity zone. But in the making the case question, that's a place where you can add in additional info to demonstrate that what the needs of the community are and how you feel that it is an area with high need. And then in terms of how to determine if any schools are located in an opportunity zone when you're working with a lot of schools, there isn't really an easy way that I know of. You would have to type in each individual school and see if they're in a blue opportunity zone. But the nice thing about the application is to receive full points for the opportunity zone question, you only need to provide the name and address of one school your project will serve that is located in an opportunity zone that the review committee can then verify with the map. So you wouldn't have to tell us more than one school that we can verify with the map. Yeah, and then your other question, we'll get back to you over email on that one.
Yeah, thank you. And Heather, I saw you raised your hand too. So please unmute yourself and you can ask a follow-up here if you need
to. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very confusing to have to type in all the opportunity zones. I was wondering if there's some website that you know of that would list the schools and show which ones are in the opportunity zone, because we have so many.
Yeah, I don't know of that one. I wish that existed as well. to go the other way. What I would recommend doing is just, if you know which schools are in the highest need communities, I would just start there. And once you get one school district or one school site that's in an opportunity zone, then you put that in the application.
Yeah, it's just weird because, for example, Florin High School, it's 95% free and eligible reduced, and it doesn't show up blue.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things because the opportunity zone is designated by census tract. So it like that census tract specifically where the school is might not be included. However, the surrounding community might be, as Amy described. So this is one of the reasons why the application is designed to get quantitative data like yes or no, is the school in the opportunity zone? What's the free and reduced price meal percentage? What's the unduplicated pupil count of English language learners and all of these other priority populations that we're aiming to serve, as well as it has the make the case question of talk to us and introduce us to your community. because we know that the numbers alone or the maps alone don't tell the actual stories of the community. So
yeah, but I think the schools would not necessarily, the census tract wouldn't really be an opportunity zone because the school's taking up the whole census tract versus the students that they're serving. That's what confused me, because if the students they're serving are obviously in an opportunity zone, the whole area around them is pink or whatever color it's supposed to be.
blue. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some schools are in opportunity zones, and I think that's the differentiator. So, yeah, we're really interested in it. We're always open to revisiting it in future years. I think it's important for us to make sure that those opportunity zones are still prioritized.
So we'll just have to see how many, it may affect our scoring in that one area if we can't figure it, because it's really hard to figure out all the, you're talking about 100 some schools probably to find one. So we'll do our best.
It could be a lot. Good luck. We're sorry that you have to do that, but hopefully you'll get one early on.
Yeah, because I've done some Google searches to see if there's any kind of database that.
I know. I know.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so I'm going to the chat because I don't see any other hands raised, and I see our next question is from Mark Burrows. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Our school has about 23% unduplicated students and typically isn't designated as an underserved community. Is our student population likely to be a disqualifying factor? No, it's not likely to be a disqualifying factor. What I would suggest doing is just maximizing the point totals in the making the case section and still introducing us to your community. Last year, every school district that applied in track 1 received an award. So it really will depend on who else in track 1 is applying. So you won't be disqualified, but it will be reflected in the scoring. Amy, do you have anything else to add on Mark's question?
I agree with what you said, Nick. Yeah, about trying to maximize the questions that are more qualitative, so you can demonstrate the need in your community, even if the unduplicated people count for free and reduced meals and foster youth and English language learners doesn't reflect the need in your community. There are those other spaces. There's also the engaging students from underserved communities question in the community needs section. So that's another opportunity to, in a more qualitative way, describe the need of your community and receive points for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Mark, hi.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate the answer. That helps a lot.
Of course. Yeah, thank you. Okay, the next question I see is from Elena. Hi. If awarded the grant, is it paid out in full upfront or is it reimbursed in % completion or checkpoints? That's a great question. I'm going to go to Amy on that one.
Hi, Elena. Yeah, good question. So this grant, all 4 funding tracks, it's a reimbursement grant by default. So the invoicing is monthly or quarterly. So that means that a grant recipient would submit invoices to the CDFA on either a monthly or quarterly basis. And it would, we have like an invoicing template for grant recipients to use based on the approved budget from the application, where a grant recipient would say, these were the grant project expenses we had this month or quarter, and here are all the attachments as like proof of payment to show that those transactions occurred. And then the reimbursement process, there's a thorough review of the invoices, and then once everything is approved, then reimbursement is paid out via a paper check in the mail. And then there is, even though it's a reimbursement grant by default, there is an advance payment option if the grant recipient is eligible. And so once grant recipients are awarded, we can work with them to see if they're eligible for advance payment and interested, and work through that. And the thing to keep in mind with advance payments is there are some regulations that recipients would need to follow in order to qualify for advance payment. And the advance payment would be up to 90% of the award. It wouldn't be the whole 100%. And yes, and then we link in the RFA, I forget what page, but under I think it's the funding and duration section, we link to those advance payment regulations if you're interested in what those are. Yeah, we're the state, so there's always a process and paperwork to go either route.
but it is an option if you do require advance payment, and you qualify. So like Amy said, check out that language in the RFA. And if you have any follow-up questions, please email us and we can point to that specific point for you. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Okay, sounds good. So are there any other, there you are. Elena, yeah, hi.
Okay, if you don't have any other hands raised, I do have more questions, but they'll be here to just talk through.
Of course.
So one of them, which we've been trying to find schools to partner with, and a lot of the schools in our area are homeschools, which would be really easy to work with, but I don't believe that they work through the school district. So we know that there are at least a few teachers in the school district that want to partner, but since we have other partners outside of it, as long as we have met the 3 different types of, at least one of the 3 different types of eligible partners, are we also allowed to use funding to incorporate other groups that might serve youth that go to these schools, such as there's like a youth rehab facility, and they take in youth that go to the school district and are part of it, but they aren't the school district themselves.
Good question. Amy, what do you think? Do we have clarifying questions?
Sure. Hi, Elena. That's a really good question. So the other types of youth you're asking if the funding can support, are they in like private schools, homeschools, and like nonprofit organizations?
Yeah, nonprofit organizations.
Okay. And this would be in track 4 or track 2?
Track 4.
Okay. I think we might need to discuss that as a team, because that's a really great question that I think we'll want to talk through, and then we can get back to you about that one.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if you can.
Yeah.
My other question too is for doing the applications and like you sign up and create your profile and whatnot. So I have a few different people that I'm helping create their applications, and I'm wondering what is the best way to do that. I don't have it open in front of me, but like you put in a contact email and you put the person's name and whatnot. But if I would be the one like communicating the most, I'm wondering if there's any suggestions on how to set up that profile when you're kind of like the mediary, if that makes sense. And I know that also comes out in like the tax forms afterwards, as I've worked with the CDFA's Healthy Soil Project, and it kind of gets a little nebulous when it comes to tax forms in terms of like whose name to put what and where. So I didn't know if there's any suggestions you have up front on that to do it right the first time.
So yeah, another great question, and I have a follow-up question for you first, if that's okay. So are you saying that you are supporting other individuals' applications by helping them to write it, but they are the ones who are like submitting the application and would be the ones who, if awarded, would be like receiving the grant funds and implementing the project?
Correct. That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have all the ideas. They have all the partners. I'm just writing and helping them.
Oh, so nice. Yeah. So I would recommend, let's see. Well, first, in the application itself, for each funding track, we ask 3 questions about contact info, which I think you were referencing. So one is, who is the person who is writing the grant application? Okay. So if that's you, you would write your name and contact information in response to that question. Then there's another question about, let's see. I forget. There's one about like who would be the like main contact, I believe, for the grant application. So, and if that's different from the person writing the application, then you would want to put, that it's different, and then put in the person's name who is like the actual entity that is kind of like behind the application, would be receiving the funds as the main contact. And then there's a third question about the grant agreement signing authority. So that means like, should the entity receive an award, who would be the one to actually like sign the grant agreement? And that would be whatever the entity is that would be like receiving the funds and implementing the project. So it's possible those could be 3 different people. It's possible there would be some overlap among those 3 contacts. And then in terms of who sets up the profile, you can only submit one application in each track. So I would recommend that the person who you're supporting to write their application is the one who actually has the WiseHive profile. And then they would need to share their like login, which is their email address and password, with you if they want you to help them, and they give you their permission to like go in and help them fill out the application. But they're the ones who should be like submitting it and all of that.
Okay, yeah, I think that clarifies that too, especially for who the main contact and whatnot is. So yeah, thank you. If I have any other questions, if things get hairy, I'll let you know.
Perfect. Yeah, please do. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is, if you feel that the like situation of the contact people and everything is like kind of complex and you want us to understand, there is a question at the end of the application for each funding track where you can just share any additional info that you'd like to share. And there's no points available for that question. It's just if you feel there's like additional info that the reviewers or CDFA needs to know about the application.
Yeah, awesome. I'm really glad you guys set that up. That's very helpful too. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, everyone, we have a few more minutes here. Are there any other questions? I see one more from Heather in the chat. There's also a contact for administration and fiscal. The grant manager will be different than the person handling accounting. Should we use the accounting person for this area? I think probably yes. But if you feel like there's extra people on the team, Heather, you can also just put it in that other question at the bottom, like Amy was describing, with any other additional support people that will be available. Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, any other questions from people today? You can raise your hand by going under reactions and then raise hand, or you can put it in the chat. We'll wait a second here. I'm not frozen, I'm just sitting very still. Okay, well, it looks like we are good on questions for today. This is great, our first one to get done early. So thank you all for joining and bringing your questions today. Oh, and thank you, Brent, shout out, happy to help. So if you have follow-up questions in between webinars, please send them to our email address there. And then someone on the Farm to School team, do you know when our next webinar is? There's one a week, so it's next week sometime. Someone will drop it in the chat here and I'll say it out loud for the recording. But it's coming up soon, so my suggestion is always go into WiseHive, start filling out the application. You can scroll down and see every question in one place. So it's not one of those ones where you have to like fill it out to get to the next page and then you get hit with another mystery. You can scroll through and identify all your questions as you go. So that's my greatest recommendation. RFAs are confusing and complex, but applications are Q&A. So go into WiseHive, check it out. And then our next session is June 23rd at 12 p.m. So you can join that and we'll do this same info slides and Q&A so you could talk to a real human being about the application. All right, thank you everyone so much for joining today. And we'll see you in our email inbox. We'll see you at the next session. Talk soon. Thank you, everyone.